Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm Nick Curley, president of the Highlandtown Community Association. Thanks for joining us for tonight's general meeting. Just a few housekeeping items. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted to Facebook for everyone's enjoyment for years to come. So let's act accordingly. We're going to give everyone a few minutes to get settled. I'm going to ask that everyone please keep themselves muted unless they're asked to present or have a question for the floor when that time comes. But in the interim, I'd appreciate if everyone would stay muted so we can have a quiet and efficient meeting. We're going to give everyone just a minute to get settled and we'll dive right into the agenda in just a minute. Hey, Beatriz, thanks for being here. Is Mr. Privas with you?
I am.
Outstanding. I'll have you guys up on the agenda in about 15 minutes. So stay put and I will let you know when it's time, all right?
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, Vanessa, I'm going to make you a co-host if I can. Done. All right, and instead of waiting around to see if anyone shows up late, let's just dive right in. What do you guys say? So, excellent. So thanks for being here tonight. Let me take a quick pass through the agenda and then we will dive right in. In just a minute here, when we're done reviewing the agenda, we are going to do some quick updates from the board and myself. Following that, we have three invited guests that we will introduce after we take comments from the floor. Courtney Morgan from Highlandtown's Arts District wants to talk about strategic plan updates and feedback with the community. Catherine Klosek is going to talk about traffic calming and placemaking at Eastern and Elwood. And Beatriz, representing Los Amigos at 400 South Eaton, is going to talk to us with her counsel about why they are seeking a live entertainment license and how we can support them. And with that, we will dive right in. So, Vanessa, would you like to start with updates?
Sure. So just an update about cafe lights. We were awarded $5,000 from a BG&E grant, and we have pre-approved about $4,000 of that money. We still have $1,000 left for the pre-approval part. And if you have been pre-approved and you have not submitted your paperwork to get reimbursed, please submit your paperwork for reimbursement, and you can do that through the website. All the links are up there. That's it.
Outstanding. Thanks, Vanessa. Next, I'd like to ask Keith Gibson. You want to share updates with the group?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Keith Gibson, and myself and my lovely wife run the Basement Bar Tour every year. And my update is that this year, and I think everybody kind of saw this coming, especially with there being basically no information coming out of any of the avenues that we usually send it out of, we will not be having the Basement Bar Tour this year. There will also be no kind of stand-in event in its place. So you can thank COVID again for that one. That's all I got.
Thanks, Keith. I think I speak for everyone when I say we're disappointed that you were unable to conquer a global pandemic for the sake of doing something fun in the neighborhood.
No one is more disappointed than I.
Of course.
That I did not have that superhuman ability.
Yeah, maybe next year it'll work out. All right. Well, thank you very much for the update. Greatly appreciated. All right. Cool. Moving on, Brian, would you like to provide updates about Gallery Place?
Sure. So a number of people are probably aware there is a proposal for an apartment building to be erected on the corner at Elwood and Eastern Avenue in the southeast corner. It is an area that belongs to the Gallery Church. Currently on that spot is a two-story building that I think it was initially built as a bank. It is, I think, just at this point in time is just storage for the church. It needs an awful lot of upgrades. Their proposal is to take the building down and to build a 4-story apartment building on that site. That 4-story apartment building will not be twice the height of the existing 2-story building. The existing building has very high ceilings, due to the nature that it was built. The building will be just a slight bit taller than the existing church building that is also on the property. Part of the reason for that is that there's a slope of Eastern Avenue that has the church is actually uphill on the upside from where the new building would be. There's been some discussion about this. Some people were supportive of it, as am I. Some people have not been, and there will be some more information to share in the not too distant future. Probably there will be a meeting to discuss what they would like to do with some of the people who are kind of opposed to it, to try to put their fears and to rest and address some of their concerns. Personally, for me, I'll editorialize a little bit. I like feet on the street. I think that's a valuable corner for that kind of an investment. And I feel like at a market rate building on that site is the appropriate thing, because it's going to bring people with money to spend to our business corridor, and therefore I support it. So there is not anything to announce as far as a meeting at this point, but there will be something soon. So watch this site, watch our Facebook and our social media for things, and there will be some other opportunities to weigh in. In all likelihood, this will be a face-to-face meeting, either in the parking lot at the site, or if it rains, inside the church sanctuary itself. So stay tuned.
Awesome. Thanks for that update, Brian. Great news. And I guess just for like the good of the order, I'll mention that so we just had a discussion in our board meeting, but the thrust of it is that generally speaking, the HCA doesn't have a position on issues like this until we need to, because in practice, we care about what's important to the folks who show up, for lack of a better expression. So we exist to amplify and support folks in the neighborhood who are interested in making progress on an issue or improving the neighborhood in general. That's what we do. And we're all volunteers. So we're not going to do it for you ever, because we're not. So someone who brings us a petition that has the support of their neighbors, or someone that comes to us for a project and a plan and wants resources and support to realize it, that's what we do. So until some organized opposition to this building presents itself to us and asks for something specific that we can deliver, we'll probably remain neutral on it, unless someone who's on the board lives close enough to have an opinion. So stay tuned. And again, we're not anti-development or pro-development because we have a personal stake in it. We just want a healthy neighborhood that's good for everyone. And living things like healthy neighborhoods are alive and change and grow over time. And we get that. So let us know how we can help if you have opinions about it. Otherwise, that's where we stand. Moving on. Matt Ackermer, I know you're in the audience, and I'd like to give an update on 3800 East Lombard. Before I do that, would you like to jump in and let me know if there have been any changes in status on that application for liquor license transfer?
Hi, everyone. Matt Ackermer, Community Liaison for the Liquor Board. I actually don't have anything else to share at this time. I was just checking in with our executive team before the meeting to see, and I'll probably get an update from you all.
Awesome. So everyone, just in case you don't know Matt, he's an incredible resource and a super helpful individual who works with Liquor Board and has done excellent work over time in Highlandtown to make our neighborhood safer and more reasonable. So thanks a bunch for that. So in our last meeting, those of you who are here may recall that we received some comments from a liquor license attorney and an individual who are trying to transfer a license into the shopping center where the Haslow grocery store is on Lombard Street, 3800 East Lombard. And in that meeting, we kind of said we don't have an opinion on this because it's news to us and we'll talk about it. So the conclusion we came to in response to that request for support was that, generally speaking, neighborhoods with fewer liquor stores are healthier neighborhoods. And I think like the last thing the northern, like northeastern part of Highlandtown needs is like more trouble. So like we have officially opposed the transfer of that license, and we've asked the liquor board to like heed our request based on our desire to have like a healthy, functional neighborhood that's like moving like forward rather than backward. So that's where we landed on that. And we are waiting for an opportunity to go talk to the liquor board in the hearing for that license transfer. So stay tuned for updates, but that is the outcome of that. Next, I've got a seasonal warning just for everyone. So this time of year, when the weather starts to cool down, we always remind our friends and neighbors that any property that is open, like vacant and open to casual entry, is at risk of being inhabited by folks who are going to warm that property with fire when the weather gets colder. And historically, that has resulted in numerous fires in the neighborhood that damaged the residents where the fire started and the adjacent residences because of the quirk of Baltimore architecture that many row homes are not separated by firewalls. So please do yourself a favor, do your family a favor, and your friends and neighbors a favor. If there is a house on your street or any street that you're aware of that is vacant and has an open basement window or an open door or an open back door, if you think people are getting in the property now, start calling 311 requesting board ups. Request 911 if you feel like a crime is being committed, and request a board up. Come to the cop walks on Tuesday nights at Goff and Conkling and walk with us and point it out to us. We have officers with us and they will radio it in and get the city to come board it up. But like time and history have shown that if people live in vacant properties that don't have utilities, they will try and find a way to keep themselves warm. And that way is usually fire. And like that has not, like it has happened repeatedly that houses have burned down because of that and people have gotten hurt. So do yourself a favor, get out in front of it, and please report it yourself or ask for help and we will help you. And then just Vanessa or Brian, are either of you interested in providing a brief recap of our discussion with the state's attorney last week, or would you like me just to cover that?
Go ahead, Nick.
All right. So, so we have been working as an organization to, sorry, Brian, you want to jump in?
No, I was going to say I'll be happy to embellish, but
No.
Vanessa was kind of leaning forward, so I let her take the lead. But go ahead, you can start.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, just to keep it really short for everyone, like using as few words as possible, the Marilyn Mosby, the state's attorney, had implemented some controversial non-prosecution policies during the pandemic, nominally because the jails couldn't be crowded and the courts weren't functioning. Since those policies were implemented, we've had numerous public forums like town hall style events in this particular community association, as well as others, where there's been some back and forth with the state's attorney about the efficacy and like impact of her policy changes on the neighborhoods that she serves. And like in brief, many communities throughout Baltimore are concerned that low-level crimes, including drug dealing, prostitution, public urination, defecation, and trespassing, among others, are no longer being prosecuted. And as a result, communities are worse off than they were before that. The flip side of that argument that the state's attorney presented in our most recent meeting is that it's also a fundamentally an equity issue, and that the city is a better place because fewer arrests have been made. So like, I think we have repeatedly and publicly challenged the belief that not enforcing like myriad laws within the city make it a safer place for a bunch of reasons. And we continue to be disappointed with the lack of data to defend that policy and its like efficacy in making Baltimore a safer place. So anyway, we continue to assert that we recognize we can't arrest our way out of the problems of Baltimore City, and we believe the city should focus and concentrate resources in its most underserved areas to help people who are having problems and making the community unsafe at the same time, so we can help people and make the neighborhood safer. So anyway, we're going to continue to fight that fight because we think it's the right thing to do and because we want a safer neighborhood. And the city council president will be here in our next meeting in November. So we'll have an opportunity to continue the conversation perhaps then. But if this topic interests you and you want to get involved and be a part of these conversations in public forums or elsewhere, we'd love your support because it's a tough fight to fight. We could use some folks with like a data science background or folks who like to do research on like public policy and impact. And again, like we're doing this because we want the neighborhood to be a better place, but it's a tough fight to fight. And like we're up against some big guns. So again, like we're going to keep doing that. And if you agree with it, we love your support. And if you don't, we'd love to talk about why, because I'd love to understand that. Anything else you guys want to add about that meeting?
Well, just to say that Miss Mosby was doing a lot of backpedaling from, statements that she'd made that led people to believe that her office was not going to be, treating a lot of these lower level things as criminal activity. She's clearly caught in a lot of blowback from it, and she's doing everything she can do to assure us that her office is still on the job. I did speak with Janice Bledsoe, who is Miss Mosby's director of something or other, afterwards, and because one of the things that they presented was two different women from two different organizations. One that was to their purposes to address drug addiction and homelessness and things of that sort, and the other was to address sex work in the city. And it came to be clear during the course of the meeting that neither of these organizations have the capacity to even put a dent in what needs to be done. They're both one of many organizations, similar organizations within the city, but even collectively, they don't have the means to do, to kind of pick up the slack from the things that the state's attorney's office is choosing not to treat as criminal activity. So what they have asked for is some community support. Now, my take on it is if they want community support for that kind of thing, they should be out beating the streets and asking for it. I mean, it's literally the first time I've heard anybody from that office say, hey, we'd like to see these other programs funded better, and can we get your support? I mean, literally, that has never been asked. But, it was asked at the meeting last week, and it is actionable, right? There's something we can do. We can reach out to the mayor's office and to our city council people and say, hey, there are programs to help support homeless people and to help support sex workers and give them some alternatives to their current situations. And we would like to see some funding directed towards it. So if anybody feels passionately about that, please consider, writing a letter to your city councilman, writing a letter to the mayor's office or something to that effect, because that is something that we can do that can help, whether we approve of her policies or not. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate that. Sorry, go ahead, Vanessa.
So I'll just add, there's a study that the state's attorney's office has said they've worked with Hopkins to do that's driving this policy that hasn't been released yet. I keep following up to see when it's going to be released, and I keep getting different dates. So the latest date has passed. I'm going to follow up with them, but I'd really like to see that study, as I'm sure some people, some of you all out there would like to see that as well, and see the data behind this policy. So I will keep you all posted on that.
Thanks, Vanessa. And I guess just two closing thoughts about the whole thing. Like, the state's attorney's office is pretty proud of the fact that they theoretically have saved millions of dollars, millions of taxpayer dollars by failing to prosecute a bunch of low-level crimes. And like, we're interested to know how if those savings are real or imagined. And if they're real, how are they being applied to improve the lot of the individuals that would otherwise have been prosecuted? Like, let's make sure that that concentration of resources that's occurred historically to arrest and incarcerate people is instead being repurposed in the absence of prosecutions to actually to help fix things on a person by person basis. And that all seemed really abstract at the time we discussed it. So I'm hoping when we meet again, there are some concrete numbers to talk about, and like pathways can be identified for actual like supportive services in the communities that are like suffering most from crime in Baltimore. So I guess that was that was the primary takeaway. And like two is we're fundamentally in agreement with the state's attorney that like, again, we can't arrest our way out of these problems. The problem is that historically arrests serve to interrupt like dangerous and disruptive behaviors in communities such as Highlandtown and elsewhere, where like, even if none of us thought the person doing the thing they were getting arrested for in the moment would like send them to jail forever, we might have reasonably expected to see the same drug dealer back in the corner within days. But like, if he wouldn't let me into my house and I had to call the police to say, there's this guy selling drugs in my steps and he will not let me in, I could count on the police to come arrest him. And today we don't have that certainty because the standards are vague and fluid. So like the state's attorney's office will not articulate what the difference between selling drugs, like a small time drug dealer is, and what drug distribution is. So like, they will say in a public forum that they're arresting drug dealers, but there's like, there's a practical conversation that happens behind the scenes about how many vials constitutes a drug dealer. Because like if someone's holding 2 or 3 vials or 10 vials or 15 vials, maybe it's simple possession. And like, that's not actually an established boundary that the police have to work with. So every time they encounter a potential drug arrest, they're attempting to determine whether or not it's a futile effort to arrest someone that's not prosecutable. And the state's attorney absolutely will not tell you what that standard is. And I know it sounds like small ball trying to figure that out, but in practice, when that's applied to like policing in a city like, you know, with the challenges Baltimore faces and the open air drug markets Baltimore like undeniably has on many street corners, and the implications for folks who don't feel safe around that kind of activity, like it's all actually pretty consequential all of a sudden. So again, like that's a fight we're fighting right now, and we'll keep you posted. But if you want to be a part of it, like reach out and let us know how you want to help. All right, so those are all of the updates I have. Invited guests, hang out just for a few more minutes. We're going to take some comments from the floor, and then we will call on you. So with that, do we have any comments from the floor? Traditionally, it's Amanda who leads us off. I'd like to keep that going if it's all right with everyone. Amanda, what have you got for us?
Sure, I'm so excited to follow the previous segment. I am going to talk about events in Highlandtown. So this is our event season. I'm going to drop some of the events in the comments right now. So just so you know, the first event coming up, and these are events that are led by the Highlandtown Main Street and the Highlandtown Arts District. So we have our trick or treat on Highlandtown Main Street event is back. It's always held on Halloween on October 31st. And this year, since it's on a Sunday, we're going to hold it a little bit earlier from 1 to 3 p.m. I believe there's a Brewers Hill event for kids in the neighborhood from 3 to 6. And some other events on October 30th around there's tons of Halloween events, as you know. So ours will be on this night or this day, and we will actually do trick-or-treating along Eastern Avenue. Some of the businesses on Highland and Conkling also participate. And all we ask is that kids come in costume and that they wear their masks. They are required this year. Businesses will be out, and we'll also have a scavenger hunt with a prize at the end. Everyone can just look for pumpkin cutouts that will have a letter on them in windows. So we'll have some guide sheets. You can start at the State Farm, right at, I think it's at Robinson, and we'll end down at Spiritual Hands for the scavenger hunt, but you can trick or treat in any order you'd like. So the link with more events is in the chat. And then just some upcoming events for the rest of the season. And I do have a little bit of bad news. I guess we'll start with that first. We have heard the official word, the Train Garden will not open this year. There's just a lot of concerns with COVID. They're indoors. Kids aren't vaccinated yet. And it's just, you know, a lot of the volunteers are older adults. So they've got to keep their safety in mind too. So because of that, they will not open this year. They are going to plan to do a Christmas in July event. And so we might get to have a little Train Garden sneak peek in July, but the Train Garden has been maintained. It's operational, so it hasn't gone anywhere. it's just sitting tight until we can get back in the group. So they're all excited about that in July, but we'll just have to be patient. We will also probably put a pause on the tree lighting festivities, but we will have some kind of event on, normally it's on Friday, December 3rd, the same night as the December Art Walk. So I jumped ahead in my list of things. But you can see as we head through November, we have an art walk in November on November 5th from 5 to 9. Then we have Small Business Saturday coming up on November 27th. So that's a great day. We'll probably do some pop-ups and visits around the district. We'll have more details on the website. And then again, we'll probably head into December with a First Friday Art Walk, holiday theme, maybe some music, pop-up music in the neighborhood. So we'll still have the tree lit, we'll still have all the decorations up, but we're trying to avoid crowds, large crowds gathering, especially crowds with families and young children. The other thing we're gonna try to do, because I know there was interest in this last year from this group, is we're going to try to work with the fire department to get a better schedule for a fire truck ride with Santa. Our Santa, who I will not name here because it's really Santa. This is the recorded meeting, correct? So Santa, he's real and he will be on the fire truck, and we'll get him around town. So we'd like to do some better marketing and let the community know about that, so that you all can maybe do some stoop parties or block parties with much smaller groups and keep the crowds down. So that's sort of the plan. We'll probably have some letters to Santa and some other little fun activities, and of course, encouraging everyone to support our local businesses. So that's where we're at. And I just wanted to give you all a heads up about what's coming. And don't forget about the Lantern Parade. It's not in my list, but obviously everyone knows that's this Saturday. Anything else?
No, that's fantastic. Thanks so much.
Great. Oh, and one last thing. As required every meeting, here's a kitten. It's for Jack.
Are you available for my other meetings?
Oh, Brian's got one too. Yes, yes.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, thanks, Amanda. All right, so again, I know we've got some invited guests and we'll get to you shortly. I'd like to open up the floor now for comments, questions, introductions from the floor. Please let me know if you'd like to add something. Also, feel free to use the chat if you want to send a comment in that I can address or read to the group for you. And if we don't have any comments from the floor, we will go straight to invited guests. Well, in the absence of comments from the floor, Mr. Privas, how are you doing?
Good, thank you, Nick. Thank you for having us. I'll start by explaining the procedural issues and parameters of this request, and then I'll turn it over to Beatrice for any fine tuning and questions on the day-to-day operation. So Amigos Bar has been on the corner of Eaton and Bank. The current owners, Beatrice and her husband, have been there since 2015. The establishment has predated that. They currently have on their use and occupancy permit permission for live entertainment and dancing. They do not have that on their liquor license per se, and there has been some confusion and back and forth. So this is a request to clean up what should have been cleaned up a while ago and request permission on their liquor license for live entertainment and dancing. The request, this place is tiny. I believe it only fits 65 people if you're familiar with it. The request is to put a DJ booth towards the back of the establishment and have music that's played by a DJ on Friday and Saturday nights. There's been issues with people dancing, people wanting to get up and dance, and there has been a case that says they can dance, but this would totally solidify that what they're doing is permissible. So the request is limited to DJ, karaoke, and dancing. There's no intention to fit a live band. You couldn't even fit a live band in there. You may be able to to fit a guitar player. Karaoke, planning on perhaps a weeknight for that, but DJ on Friday and Saturday nights. Beatrice, since she's recently gotten more involved in the business, may want to tell you a little more fine tuning with that, but that when this application went in last November, that was the intention to add that. Beatrice, are you here and unmuted? Did we lose her?
Check the guest list too.
There you go. Hello, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
There you are.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. And Nick, thank you for the opportunity to have me here tonight. I really appreciate that. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Amigos. Amigos has been in the neighborhood since 2009, Peter. I think you got it wrong right there. It's been there since 2009. So for all these years, it's been always my husband and I. But his brother was the one who ran it for so many years, which his name is Javier. I think you guys are familiar with him because he has gotten in touch with you for some things with the community before. So recently, for the past 4 months, we have transitioned to get me and my husband back into get involved into it. Javier decided to, get on his own, and now we're back to it. So there is a lot of changes coming up. We want to keep being part of the community, and for that, we will need your bless. Like Peter was explaining to you, we're seeking to have the full permit to have live entertainment in the business. And like he said, yes, it is about 65 people in there. I wanted to bring something different to our clients. There are some changes happening in the building. It was really dark. Like I said, I wasn't part of it before. My brother-in-law was the one running it all the time. We were just, on the back doing our own things, but now we're jumping into it full to the full. So we have put some lighting outside because me personally, I think that's a very, very dark corner. So we in the building, there's been light put to the side and to the front of the building. There's also we're also putting the concrete in that corner is horrible. So we're talking to the city about fixing it up because it's all broken, and we don't want any of the neighbors, to fall and trip or get hurt, and that in the corner. So with that being said, we want to keep, we want to continue being part of the community, and also bringing something different to our customers. And we appreciate if you guys, all of you, give us your blessings to get this license going.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. I appreciate that. Peter, is there anything else you want to add before I make some general comments and ask the floor for comments?
No.
All right. So I guess just to make the process clear, in relation to our previous comments, as an organization, we don't have any opinion on this at all, and we're interested in feedback from neighbors. So I'll mention that Kirk Wiggins, who's on our board, lives a couple doors down from this bar and has expressed his support both in our board meeting and in email. So I'm interested to know if anyone on this call, or if anyone on this call is aware of anyone they know in the neighborhood that lives nearby and might have an opinion about this that they can share tonight or in the next couple of business days. And then also just ask Brian, any thoughts?
Yeah, I'll jump in at least to start, and then maybe hand it off to Kirk and Natalie. First, I just think it's just the most bizarre thing that you have to have a permit for dancing, which seems to me to be one of the most spontaneous of human activities. Just very strange. As far as live entertainment goes, I mean, it is a small place, and we do have concerns about noise and such things in the neighborhood. But my impression, and I don't live, I live several blocks away, but my impression is that the business has been well run, and I support the opportunity to to provide more services to your clientele and to be an asset to the neighborhood. So, you know, that's kind of my impulse, unless somebody else has something, you know, to put out that I'm unaware of. I have not looked into, you know, 911 or 311 reports regarding the site, but that's certainly something that we have easy access to. And if we are to write a letter of support for your plans, you know, or to come out in any way in support of your plans, that we would, you know, we would definitely look into that. Also, if we offer, as a community association, if we offer any support to anything of the sort in the neighborhood regarding a business that distributes alcohol, or, you know, anything else that has the potential to be problematic, we tend to insist on a memorandum of understanding, or MOU. But again, at this time, I see no reason why we wouldn't support that. That's me speaking. We will talk further offline, but yeah, I'm supportive as of right now.
We have no to an MOU, so you know.
So we have security on the site every night. We have, you know, window-proof sound, just to protect our neighbors. We live right in a corner from a neighbor, like a, you know, a house. So we try to have, we know we serve alcohol. So for that, we have and take our cautions. Like, I have 2 securities. Fridays and Saturdays it's our busiest day. So we assure that everybody, as soon as they get out, get into their vehicle safe and sound and go home. So it's like I said, we we know about the music. It's been there for years, and we attempted to keep it the same way, just for the sake of our neighborhood.
Excellent, thank you. Does anyone else on the call want to share any thoughts, specifically any concerns or questions for Beatriz about her request for a letter of support here?
Hello, hi guys. I wanted to step in and just give a little thoughts on this. They've been always good to, you know, always a good bar down there. I've never really had any trouble. Every time I ask them to tone it down, because a couple of the neighbors think you're being too loud, they tone it down. Now, what that decimal point has to be, I really don't have a clue, but usually if they happen to open their doors because it was a cool night, sometimes the music might travel a little bit more. So on that part, I would just like them to just make sure they maintain their decimal level and do what they said, put the lights up and keep it clean, and they get my blessing.
Yeah, and I can support this. My husband, first of all, with everything he said, and also whenever there were moments when, if anybody just kind of give it, when in the summer months when the seating was open outside, there was always somebody really watching, and there were a couple instances where just people just kind of giving unsolicited attention to somebody else passing by, and security was always on top of it. I specifically experienced that, and just there was somebody stepped in and it never happened again. So I'm very grateful for this.
Javier ran this, yes. ran it really good, and I expect them to do the same, and they seem like they will. So,
and we live how many, like 5 doors down?
A few doors down.
Yes.
Outstanding. Thank you both. All right. So I guess my bottom line on this right now is, based on the enthusiastically positive feedback we're getting from members of the association who live several doors away from the bar, we will likely draft a letter of support by the end of this week, unless we get some overwhelmingly negative feedback in writing at highlandtown21224@gmail.com. So if you have some information you'd like to share in opposition to our support of this request, please email it to me by the end of the business week, highlandtown21224@gmail.com. Otherwise, Mr. Privas, I will get that letter out or follow up with a different and more comprehensive request to engage with you to discuss things. So stay tuned.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you both. Beatrice, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate
Thank you so much.
coming to speak to us.
If you guys ever need for some cooperation from us, we're open to do. You have my information, you have my email, just feel free to reach out. I really appreciate you having me tonight.
Thanks. And Mr. Privas, I don't know if we have a MOU on file with Amigos, but if we don't, we'd like to. So is that something you'd be amenable to discussing offline with us?
Oh, sure. And there is no current MOU, but we'd be more than happy to enter into one.
Outstanding. Brian and I, over the years, have developed a pretty comprehensive boilerplate document that should demand no more than a few minutes of your time, and we think it's eminently reasonable. But I'll try and get a copy of that over to you in the next couple of days to consider in the interim. Great. Thank you. Cool. Thanks again. Feel free to stick around, but don't feel obligated. Thank you. Cool. All right. So Catherine Klosek is our next guest, and she has been talking with us about her interest in traffic calming and placemaking in the southwest corner of Highlandtown. So Kat, you want to jump in and tell us all about what you're interested in and how we're going to help?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Nick. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. So I live on the 400 block of South Elwood, and like probably many of you, I've just been really frustrated with, I mean, I walk and run a lot, and I've noticed an uptick in what I've been referring to as anti-pedestrian behavior. Tell me if you've seen this sort of thing, but like drivers like blowing through stop signs and stoplights, right? Sometimes they'll speed up to make a turn or blast through an intersection rather than waiting for people to cross the street. Sometimes they make eye contact before they do it, which is a special, really. So I found myself really getting mad and my blood kind of boiling. And rather than just, shaking my fist, I wanted to see what could be done about it. And so I've been in touch with the city's Department of Transportation, DOT. So they're going to come out for a pedestrian safety walk on November 9th at 5:30 p.m. We're going to meet on Eastern and Elwood. And their objective, and I want to be clear, is that DOT is coming out to help discuss the current conditions and also help us identify potential safety improvements, understanding that, capacity is limited and budget is what it is, but it's really great that they're coming out to do this. I've also been in touch with Delegate Robin Lewis, who I think folks know is a huge advocate of pedestrian safety, the only member of our legislature who, doesn't own a vehicle. I've also been in touch with, I told you I've been frustrated, so I'm just reaching out. So I've been in touch with Bike More. I've also been in touch with Mark Edelson. I don't know Mark personally, but I know many of you do, and I've heard from everybody that he's a great advocate on these issues. So I also reached out. Actually, I reached out to Nick Brazzone, who connected me with Nick Curley. So thank you to the Nicks. And Nick Curley looped in, I believe, Southeast CDC, Jackie Addison, who I think is here. And so some of you might have heard about this, and for some of you, it might be the first time. So when Nick and I started chatting, I think we talked about DOT is coming and they're going to have their scope and objective, and that's great. But this also seems, with all these other folks, like an opportunity to maybe follow up with, as Nick said, some placemaking. Maybe we work with Southeast CDC and apply for some grants on artistic placemaking and traffic calming. We can work with, Delegate Robin Lewis on her Livable Streets initiative. We can raise awareness of Bike More's advocacy. And then of course we've scheduled this on a Tuesday specifically to connect with HCA's cop walks. Now, the pedestrian safety walk is going to start a little earlier. It'll start at 5:30. Because daylight savings and all that, but the idea is we'll flow into the cop walk. The whole route, I think, is still being worked out, but we are going to start at South Elwood and Eastern at 5:30 on November 9th. And if you do have suggestions of intersections, I don't know how much ground we can cover. I'm thinking we'd start there and then walk over to Bank and East next. East is really wide. I'm always seeing vehicles blast through, but I know folks probably have opinions. So I don't know, maybe drop them in the chat and we'll see what we can do. But I'm gonna get back to DOT, I think by the end of this week to try to lock in the exact route. I emailed the 21214 email address just today because I think the current The agenda for this meeting, I think, said Eastern and Linwood, so we'll make sure it says Eastern and Elwood. You might, I think Robin Lewis is going to be doing some communications about this this event. So you might hear from her office, you might hear from DOT, but it's all the same deal. Anyway, let me stop talking and see if folks have any questions about that. This is an invitation, right? You're all invited. And really looking forward to staying in touch with Nick, Brian, others on kind of next steps, right? Like, this is raising awareness. Maybe we'll get some improvements through the city, but we also think that this is an opportunity for, you know, like we said, placemaking and other initiatives. So I'm going to take a peek at the chat. Oh, good. Yes, suggestions. Join and stay updated as the event approaches. I'll stay in touch with Nick. Someone asked about staying up in touch on this event. Join and stay updated as the event approaches. Sorry. So Nick Curley, I'll stay in touch with you, and we can make sure that this group gets all the details, including the full route, and if anything changes, but I don't think that it will. So I'll just say again, November 9th, 5:30 p.m. Eastern and South Elwood, and we'll go from there. And I'll keep looking at the chat if folks have other suggestions. Thanks for dropping these in. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome, Kat. And just a quick note, Kat, if you use Facebook and would be willing to drop any updates in the Highlandtown page, please do it directly. If you ask me to do it, all I'm going to do is turn around and ask Nick Present to do it, because I won't use Facebook. So thank you so much.
I can do that. Thank you, guys.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, so just dive right in. We're super glad to have your support. And I'll just remind everyone here, the most consequential change in the neighborhood, other than the obvious rapid appreciation of property values in the past 2 years, but the most consequential change in the neighborhood from my perspective has been the installation of a bunch of four-way stops on Highland Ave, which has radically reduced the speed, not nearly enough, but enough to make it actually safe and reasonable for average people to cross the street. And as someone that spent the last 15 years trying to not die walking the dog and bridge the absurd property gap value between 58 feet or whatever of city street between the east and west side of Highland, it's absurd. So I think we should have a neighborhood we can live in that's not trying to kill us every day. And that work happened because Aaron Curley and Brian Sweeney and Mark Parker and a whole bunch of other smart, dedicated people spent a whole lot of time doing complete streets work for 10 years and telling the city repeatedly, no, this is really where the neighborhood's trying to kill us, please help. And so it took a long time. It took a lot of effort and collaboration and fighting mindless, unhelpful bureaucracy. But you know what, it worked, and the neighborhood's a better place for it. So I am all about what Kat is doing personally, and I couldn't be happier to amplify her messaging and try and get her support. So if you want to be part of the next round of changes that happen in the neighborhood, or feel like we haven't done enough yet, please join us, and we'll fight this fight together. But it's an important one, and it's not the one the city will ever do for us if we aren't just loud as hell. So that being said, Kat, any closing comments, or are we good to go?
Thank you. Looking forward to see you all on the 9th and here going forward. And keep the suggestions coming in the chat. I'm grabbing them all. Thank you.
Outstanding. All right. Our final invited guest for the evening is Courtney Morgan, representing Highlandtown Arts District, and to discuss the strategic plan and updates. Courtney Morgan, are you here? Amanda looks puzzled.
Yes, I was asked to be backup on the presentation, but the presentation was really planned by Courtney. So I don't have something to share with you other than we had some things to share.
All right, so I'm gonna go out on an unprepared and somewhat unwilling limb here and let you know that I've got the presentation that she sent over, but I've never done screen sharing on this brand new computer, and I've had massive technical failures an hour ago in my last meeting. So I can't guarantee crazy things won't happen, but if you feel like living on the edge, I can put those slides up and I can thumb through them, or we can just skip it and do it some other time.
We could try. I can get some feedback here. I'll let you all know where we're at. I'm not sure what she presented. I know she presented at another meeting. Just hoping she'd pop in.
Right.
And everyone's saying live on the edge, and maybe you can If it goes poorly, you could cut the meeting off here.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if it goes poorly, we have to keep going.
Go for it. We need some entertainment, some amusement.
All right. So guys, if you have feedback, it should probably be really sharp. So if you could be prepared just to be mean, I mean, don't really, but all right, let's see what happens here. Amanda, I'm going to try and screen share here. And we're
I
just
will
going to
tell you if
best.
it's working.
All right.
Can someone sharing? Nod? You did it.
Hot
well done.
Damn. Okay, so Amanda, I'm going to now advance to slide 2.
Let's see. I have not seen these slides before. So I think this was an overview. So let me just go back and just say, I believe we came to you all and presented and explained that we're doing an arts district strategic plan. Some people asked us, why are we doing this strategic plan? After 15 years of being an arts district, we've been an arts district since about 2004. And part of it is that it's a requirement. So when you get some funding for your district or you're one of these designations, they want to make sure that the stewards of the designations, who are the Southeast CDC, are making sure that we're getting community input. We're not just deciding what we want to do based on our in-house staff. Like the things we want to do are the things the community wants to see to help grow the arts district. So that's what we're doing. So they talked about like how they went about getting feedback. They gave us a map of the district, which stick to one slide, Nick. He's gonna keep going back and forth. So this slide, stay on the map. This slide just shows you the brown areas are the arts district. And it shows you that we encompass several neighborhoods and the Main Street. The Highlandtown Main Street is part of the Arts District. So that's why we do a lot of things together. But you can see we include the Patterson Park neighborhood, parts of Canton, parts of Brewers Hill, and obviously Highlandtown is the epicenter of it. So next slide. So what they did, we hired a consultant, that's Courtney. She and her team did interviews. They had some surveys, and then they did some additional research around the district to create the topics that are in the strategic plan for the next 3 to 5 years. Next slide. And they heard from 100 Highlandtown Arts community members and supporters and 50 artists. Next slide. I wish I had more information. I don't know if she wanted to share more there, but here we are. So it looks like she pulled out some key insights. So I'm just going to read the slide. Identify the core insights found from their research, and they had direct interviews and surveys have revealed 3 main actionable insights that will drive the recommendations for the Highlandtown Arts and Entertainment District. So let's, I assume these are the 3 insights, yes. Communal programming and funding, collaborative marketing and resources, and co-op venue spaces and opportunities. So I know that in the strategic plan, we're starting to look at what are some of the short-term goals we could work on, what are some of the long-term goals, and it looks like they're falling into these sorts of categories of projects and focus. Next slide. So it looks like when it comes to communal programming and funding, let's scroll down a little bit. If there's some information. Thank you all for going on this journey with me. They're seeing that there is a lot of community pride in Highlandtown. There's a strong desire to see the successful arts district and Highlandtown and the community at large. The artists focus on Highlandtown Arts District over other districts is that they can do everything here. So you can live here, you can work here, you can hang out here, you can do other programming here. So it's a great neighborhood for that, which you all know, and that it's very walkable. So these are all things like, that's what's great about a strategic plan is a lot of times all the things that come out are things we all already knew instinctively that we loved about our neighborhood. A lot of times we just need folks to put it on paper for us, right? So, Okay, the next section we talked about collaborative marketing and resources is that we can prosper together. So artists promote their work in various disjointed ways, but a central collaborative approach can increase the community awareness and increase overall business. A part of the Arts District's goal is to be an economic driver. So that's part of why districts are designated as an Arts District or a Main Street. All of it's about driving the economy, their economic development tools. Finding us here, many of the respondents who best knew the location of the Highlandtown Arts District live there or nearby, but they say there's a strong need for marketing that's inclusive of local participants. And then also all the comments are popping up. This is super fun. And then transparency, respondents value honesty and integrity. They want to see accountability in the Arts District and in the distribution of resources. So I think we've heard all these things before in these very meetings. People want to know what's going on. They want people to be honest and respectful and share what's happening. And then co-op venue spaces and opportunities, that it adds a value. There's an opportunity for the Highlandtown Arts District to serve as a centralized hub for promotion and economic opportunity via co-located spaces. So co-ops can often be run by groups of individuals that all share ownership, but there's lots of models for that co-op. So I'm sure we will explore those as we move forward with this process. And then distributed ownership to develop and retain the trust of local artists, equitable access to venue spaces and opportunities, promote their narratives, and opportunities to promote their narratives is a key element. So these are the things that they're finding in their, they found in all of their, next slide. Oh, there was a Jamboard link where you could give feedback, but feel free to put it in the chat, I'll copy it out. It looks like the next piece we have is there's a strategy plan document, and we're having small groups of artists and stakeholders review that plan and document. And I will then get back to you, either myself or Molly or Andy from our office will probably get back to you all and let you know when that is ready to be shared. So I think that's it. Did we do okay, everyone? I saw several comments. Yes, Natalie, this is not Canton anymore. It's Highlandtown. I don't know how many people responded with that, but yes. And then there's a question, does the official arts district designation result in city funding for art-related stuff? That's a good question. So it depends. And then how are we different from other arts districts? So I might not have all the perfect answers right now, but I'll try to do the first one. So we have been working with the city for a long time to see if we could get funding for operating the district. We've never received operating costs for like staff. So it's normally been pieced together by other entities. So one piece is we're trying to get more secure funding for operations costs so that we can do all the, because when you do get money to run an arts district, somebody has to do the reporting and the evaluating. We actually, Molly and I are on the back end collecting data from each venue that does an art walk, or from the Creative Alliance, or from everyone that's the library, all of our partners that host events. We're calling around everybody to collect data. There isn't one like place where you just drop it all. We have to report out on all of it. We have to report on the number of businesses that open and close and all those things that impact our community. So, so we all report on that. Where it gets really interesting with funding is that when you are a designated arts district or Main Street or any of these designations, you have the ability to apply for funding at the state level. And you don't always get the funding, but what it does is it increases your ranking in access to that funding. So sometimes you can't even apply if you're not an arts district. Sometimes you can apply, but if you're an arts district and a Main Street and another type of designation, you have like more points toward your application, and it gives you a greater opportunity to get the funding. So it's not a guarantee, but it does help you get arts related funding. A lot of times at the state level, it's for capital projects. So that's physical build outs. sometimes acquisition properties is a lot of like property development. It doesn't always relate in funding programmatically. There's not always as much programmatic funding, but it does. It just depends on who's offering the grant funding and the opportunity. How are we different from other arts districts? So there's a lot of other arts districts. There are 4 across Baltimore City, and then there are more, I feel like it's at least 20, but don't quote me, across the state of Maryland. So the 4 in Baltimore City are Station North, the Bromo Arts District, and the new Pennsylvania Avenue Black Art District. Each of those arts districts does different programming activities, but the city is trying to get us all to function a little more similarly in terms of operating so that there can be some consistency and I would say collaboration in the sense that like we work together to advocate for the same needs for artists across the districts and for development and those sorts of pieces. So I don't know if that answered the question about how we're different. Some have more specific focuses, some have, it's all about the artists that are in your neighborhood. So you build on your own assets and grow from there. Across the state, we're different from other arts districts because a lot of the other arts districts might actually be housed in their own governments versus in a nonprofit. So those are some differences organizationally, but they all kind of operate and have similar programming. Lots are doing art walks, lots are doing sculpture and murals and other public space projects and placemaking. So there's a lot of commonality across our districts too. And then there's, this is the first, I'm just reading the comments. This is the first time I have seen with these slides. Resonates with me more than it should. Thanks, Nick. Brian saying thanks, some more thank yous. Yes. And then Anne said, figured there were maybe more similarities than differences. Yeah, a lot of times these designations are put in place where there's needed development. So it's more about, that's why a lot of our art district boundary is like the Haven Street corridor, and it isn't just the Main Street because it's actually looking at areas where there's potential for development. So if you think about Station North, when it was designated, there are a lot of large buildings, industrial zones. Those are good for artists to go into. So it's a mix of like, are there artists here? And so there should be an arts district. And also, are there industrial or underdeveloped spaces that are already zoned as like industrial or industrial mixed use where development could happen because artists need to produce and they can't produce all the time. You know, a painter might be able to, but someone working on a larger scale or producing something that needs to be shipped, or woodworker or someone working in glass, they cannot always work in the same type of zone. Like they can't work in a residential zone or in the Main Street in a C1 or C2. So they need access to those other types of commercial, or those other types of zoning areas that are made for them to produce in. So that's also why these areas are developed. I'm not going to reply to a few of these comments, but yes, that all looks great. Nick?
Yeah. I want to stop there for now, but Amanda, I'd like to bring a slideshow that you haven't seen to our next meeting and ask you to present it also.
I would love to. That sounds like so much fun.
Outstanding. I'm not going to send you a copy to review. I'm just going to queue it up and we'll go for broke. So I can't wait to do that. All right.
And if anybody, I'll just put this out. I'm going to drop my email in the chat. If anybody feels really passionately and really wants to give you're like, I can't wait to look at this report and I want to see it and give feedback and I'm an artist or you're just a big art supporter, let me know and I will bring it back to the team and we will go from there. So
awesome. Well, I think you made tonight's meeting special, so thanks, Samantha.
I try every time.
All right. Well, you really crushed it today. All right, gang, so it is 8:05 p.m. and it is the end of our scheduled agenda. That being said, we're booked for another 25 minutes, so we can either end the meeting at 8:06 and have a good night, or we can talk about anything you guys want to address for the good of the order. So with that, I will ask, is there anyone who'd like to raise any issues or make any comments for us to consider before we call it a night? I'm taking that for a no. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and for making it a great meeting. It was good to see you all, and I appreciate your contributions. We will have our next monthly meeting a month from now on the third Monday of November, which is the 15th. Looking forward to seeing you then, and feel free to send me a note via highlandtown21224@gmail.com if you want to share any thoughts. Thanks again and have a great night.
Good night, Nick. Good night, everyone.